Farmer money. We're talking about smart spend. We're talking about dumb spend. In the business of agriculture, you spend a lot of money. Where are you spending it well? Where are you spending it poorly? What poor financial decisions are keeping you poor? That's what we're talking about in this episode of The Granary.
You ready for a conversation with some real farmers about real issues? And the best part, you're invited. So pour yourself a drink, grab a snack, most importantly, pull up a chair. Welcome to The Granary. Hey guys.
Hey there, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Granary. We've got a great one for you. You just heard the topic. Johnny Verell and Chad Henderson with XtremeAg and our friend Stephanie Zelinko, who is a Michigan farmer, as well as the lead agronomist for AgroLiquid. AgroLiquid is sponsoring this episode. We're very grateful to them. We love AgroLiquid, St. John's, Michigan-based company of fertility products.
Yes, sir.
But you're not here to talk about that. You're here to talk about farmers and farmer money. Stephanie, we're going to let you think about this for a second. We're going to go to the financial guru of Jackson, Tennessee that he is, Johnny Verell. You spend a lot of money in the business of agriculture. You farm several thousand acres. You've got a bunch of money that goes out the door. It seems to me that farmers will take $1 million, $2 million of inputs and not even really think that much about it. And then they fester over a 23-cent decision. Am I right?
Well, I mean, you spend so much money in a day nowadays. We go to the field, we could spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 just in a few hours, depending on what we're doing. And so money goes out the door in a hurry. And you're right, we can get hung up on certain things. It seems like the things that we get hung up on are the things we shouldn't even be worried about. We should be worried about different inputs. But at the end of the day, there's some inputs we put out there. It could be fertility, sometimes dry fertilize, different things like that. We'll spend $60 an acre and make 20 in return, or get $20 worth of that value that year because of the release rate of the fertilizer, what's actually available. So we'll get hung up on certain things. That's true. That's the farmer way of doing it. But at the end of the day, we got to drive nice trucks, right, Damian?
I think that's it. You drive a very nice truck. Chad drives a very nice truck. Tell you that my first time at Kelly Garrett's, he put me in a 1989 Ford Ranger that the back had rusted off of, and like his mechanic glued on a flatbed, and it was literally falling apart. We went like 90 miles an hour on those dirt roads, sliding sideways. Luckily, I'd had a couple of Coors, and I was a little bit more, my nerves were not as rattled. But I got a little terse for that. But he does not drive nice equipment. Anyway, it's because he's cheap. I speak at farm events, ag events, and I used to sell books in the back of the room. And I had a farmer and his wife stand and look at whether or not they should years ago spend $20 on two books and a CD or a $20 package, or whether it's just buy one for 10. And I thought, you probably have $2 million goes out the door every year to keep your business afloat, and you're standing here festering over a $10 or a $20 decision.
Maybe you should add more pictures in the book.
I probably should have done that.
I like pictures in a book.
What do people do in this business that you think is really smart spend, and what do you think is dumb spend?
Well, I got a race car, so I'm going to pass on that question.
Okay, so which one does that qualify as?
That's dumb spend.
Yeah, but you've got a sponsor. AgroLiquid sponsor.
AgroLiquid is my sponsor. They have a sponsor, and we run at the front, too.
Tell me about spending from their standpoint. On the one hand, you sell to farmers. On the other hand, you are a farmer, so you see it from both angles. You and Galen both have that going on. What do you think that you as a farmer do smart spending, and where do you even think that you're like, you know what, business side of me knows this is stupid, but I'm doing it anyhow?
So for us on our home farm, smart spend, I think, looking at the soil test and addressing nutrients that are needed rather than just those blanket applications and things that we've always done in the past. That's been a switch over the last couple of years.
Spoken like a true fertility person here. She went straight to fertility.
And trying to figure out what the emotional spend is versus a mathematical spend.
Right. Yeah. That's knowing where to spend those dollars.
There's an old statement that says humans make every decision emotionally and then sometimes back it up with logic, or in this case with finance. Is that true?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, it always seems to come back that way.
The 23-cent piece you was talking about is 100% emotional. It's always emotional.
Yeah.
What do you think when you look around that you've done some stuff? Because we're not going to point the finger at others. We're going to point the finger at ourselves. What have you done? You're like, man, I tell you what, this is a really expensive lesson. I did a really stupid thing financially. We talked about this in another episode about the best lessons are the ones you pay for. Give me a couple.
Probably the biggest one is waiting on corn to go up 2 cents and it dropping 40.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
never wait on the round numbers.
Yeah,
right?
the round numbers.
Not wait on the round numbers.
$4.98, sell at $4.98 every time. But in reality, a lot of times we do things, if we're not evolving as farmers or changing up what we're doing, you're never going to be able to sustain some of the financial things that we have going on. I mean, we've talked about fertility. AgroLiquid is a big fertility company, but a lot of farmers all across the country are still fertilizing like they did 30 years ago. And we can't.
And truly the same blend.
The same blend.
The same blend.
And getting the same results, basically. You can work with different companies out there that have blends that they can custom blend for your needs that day, that time of the year, that actually get you a return. And actually, you can see it in the soil tests or in the tissue samples right then of what you're actually able to do. That's what we're needing to do going forward, because we can't put out a blanket blend, like you said, and expect to maintain or, be able to get through these times right now that we're facing in farming, because fertility is one of the biggest expenses we have. Equipment is one of the biggest expenses we have. I mean, I guess about everything we're doing right now is
a big expense.
Is a big expense.
Including that fancy pickup truck you talked about.
Well, you always make comments about trucks. I thought you would, I don't have a cool truck.
He was setting you up for it.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you have, a 71 model sitting out?
That's Mrs. Mason.
That's his wife.
That's Mrs. Mason. Yeah. She gets the collector cars around here. I just have a basic.
He can't even crank them. Him and Matt Miles will get it stuck in his brother Smith.
Yeah, right. Not a good driver. I'm not really good at anything. Have we already figured this out in 4 years of me working with XtremeAg?
We talked about it a while ago.
I'm not good at very many.
That's why you fit in so well here. I mean,
we were at Commodity Classic recently, and we were in the AgroLiquid booth, and I brought up something that I think is yes, fertility is one of the expenses, but if you look at the entire, from the land, then to the equipment, then if you have manpower, or one power, you have employees, and then you go through everything else, festering over $7 versus $11 of spend on a fertility pass seems to me you're dropping dollars to pick up dimes. I think that when I think about how to whittle back $6 on fertility, reminds me of the person that has a negative net worth that's broke but worries about the price of gas. Like, you've made a bunch of bad financial decisions, and you're driving a mile out of the way to save 3 cents on a gallon of gas. You've got misprioritizations. Is that accurate? You said fertility is a big expense. I think it is, but it's also, if you fester on that, you're losing. It's like pocket accounting. You're worried about this little money over here. What about the whole table of money?
I mean, it is, but it's one of the key pieces to the whole farming operation. You can get upside down just in your fertility program, and it's going to be very hard to overcome that all throughout the year. But equipment can do the same thing. One of the biggest, best things we can spend money on, especially in our area, is land. But me and Chad we lose land every day to development, and we can't always pay what land's going for. Right. But as far as investments, that's probably still the best thing we can do. Just might not be where we're located at now, Chad. I mean, that's the honest truth.
I mean, that's the truth of it.
He grows subdivisions better than he does corn now.
There's no question.
Yeah.
What about then
that's pretty raw? That's pretty rough. He grows subdivisions better than corn.
Well, he's a pretty good corn producer. But you know what? You have one to be
The ROI is better.
Yeah. The ROI is definitely better.
What do you think when you think about smart spend versus dumb spend? Okay, we can joke about your racing hat, but we get that. All of us have a hobby. I've got $4,000 worth of golf clubs, and I'm still an 18 handicap. So let's face it, I got problems here. But what do you think when you think of smart spend, dumb spend? What have you spent smartly on, and what do you think? Oh man, I screwed up over here.
Well, let's just talk about farmers in general. And I'm gonna include myself in this, but I think we have been a smart spend on better educating ourselves with fertility packages, whether it's, being better at first, look how much better I think one generation is from the next of asking for help to read a soil sample, or even being able to read a soil sample, right? Doing some tissue sampling that's not 100% because that spot is dying and yellow, but, though I think the farmer is educating himself. I think the farmer is doing a better job of efficiency.
Yep.
There's all kind of things that we're doing better that way. And that's the smart spend right now. The dumb spend is in my experience is when me and you've talked about it in several episodes of me going out there and between telephone posts, slinging out 1,400 pounds of dry fertilizer just to see if you could buy 400 bushel blend, and trying to prove that point of where is the breaking point on fertility that we've always used. We say dry for fertilizer like we harp on, like we're not harping on dry fertilizer. We're harping on the habits that we've never broken.
You talk about this, though. Farmers are infamous for going and banging on you over $1. they don't do that to the equipment. I mean, and I think most farmers are overspent on equipment. Am I right? Are most farmers overspent on equipment?
They are, but fertility is something that they can change. Like that price of the tractor may change a little bit, but it's not huge. Or seed, you can't really change it. But fertility, you can change. You can lower nitrogen, or you can add phosphorus or micros. You have more flexibility.
Are most farmers over-equipped? Do they spend too much money on equipment that is not a good ROI?
Well, I mean, on our operation, we run mostly new equipment, but we don't have repair bills. So, I mean, I think it's whichever way you want to look at it. We run less equipment now than we did 20 years ago, and we farm 4 times the acres.
It's not like our friend Temple. Your buddy Temple, he has tractors that are so old, not a condition, they don't even qualify for one of those antique calendars. You know what I mean? That's how old the crap he runs.
Man.
Yeah, he's not here so I can pick on him.
That's pretty.
Are you over-equipped? Do you spend too much money on equipment?
Ooh, I am just opposite of Johnny. So my service bill or my parts counter bill, like I'm trying to get them to figure out how to get that baby where it's like on a roll, like, you know, Johnny and them are. You know, when you spend $1 million, you get 3% or 5%. When you spend $5 million, you get 8%. I think it should be like when you spend $100,000 over the counter, then you should get 5%. And then when you spend $200,000, you get 10%. And like it should prorate back. And I brought this to them, and it's like, why would you do that? What about the rest of us that still pull wrenches, you know? But
along those lines, if you don't, you can have the best fertility program, you could have the best land in the world. You have the wrong planter that's not up to date or not planting properly.
Have a bad sprayer.
Planters and sprayers are your 2 most important things. And a lot of times they're sometimes the most overlooked.
And you know, we went through a fertility or management plan, you know, with Brewer this year, and you look at that ratio, and that ratio needs to fit your farming. Yep. You know,
you mean the ratio of the gross revenue that spend?
No, I'm talking about. We're talking about equipment right now. Let's talk about the ratio of new equipment and interest versus the ratio of repair bill.
Okay.
Because you think, well, I ain't got no new equipment payments, but I spent $380,000 across the counter. Yeah. Well, wait a minute. Maybe I should have bought 2 combines, or maybe I should have bought that sprayer. If you're 3 days late on spraying a crop, what did that cost you?
Plus, you have the time to actually do that equipment maintenance yourself.
Yeah. Well, who has the time for that? Or who has, time's the only thing we can't purchase.
All right. I'll give you an example. And it's easy to say, well, you know what? You're not the operator. So what do you know?
You got a little tractor.
Smart.
But yet you hired somebody to move a tree in your driveway.
Yeah, that's a different story. But yes, thank you for noticing. We got, I think, dumb spend, over tillage, overutilization of diesel fuel. I think if a bunch of farms would focus hard on that as opposed to how to whittle you on $3 on fertility, how many extra passes are being made unnecessarily? And you're doing that.
It looks so good when it's worked up.
Yeah, right. It looks so good, and you also just burned $5 diesel.
It wasn't that.
You put hours on a piece of equipment that
we can justify anything.
$250,000 piece of equipment, and you're putting extra hours on it unnecessarily. What's an hour worth on that piece of equipment? Ooh, a few $100.
Probably well over 100 just for equipment.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you got to always be willing to evolve, because we used to plant our wheat. Me and Chad were talking about planting wheat on the way up here, and I used to plant wheat a certain way where I'd actually use like a turbo till or something like that to incorporate the wheat in the ground, because I didn't want to drill because it only ran 7 days a year. Well, now the way equipment costs have gone up, labor costs, fuel, and all this stuff, I'm probably going to revert back to drills because it's one pass, one person.
That's a whole other topic of why he's reverting back to the drill, and that's a whole nother episode. But anyway, him and Temple,
But from a money standpoint, you just reduced a pass. Well, again, how many hours, and then what's an hour on that piece of equipment plus the diesel?
And that's exactly what we went down. And when we were sitting there working it out, it's going to be $20, $30, $40 an acre possibly before it's all said and done saved, and what we would be having. And I guess where I'm going with that is what works this year will not work the same next year. If we put out fertility like we did 30 years ago when I got out of high school, it will not work the same. And I mean, you got to I guess it's 20 years
and
ago.
It will affect your bottom line.
Yeah, but you got to adapt, because how long ago did we not worry about macros?
Oh, you're right.
I mean,
whoever put macros in a 2x2, or what's everybody put in 2x2? What did Kelly always say? The holy grail of growing corn is population and nitrogen.
More population, more nitrogen, more population. There you go. I'm surprised that they had time to talk to each other on the way up here. They drove 8 hours and they were on the phone the entire time.
I texted.
Oh, you texted them? You were in the same chat. You texted them?
Yeah, I texted.
All right. So talk to me about on the smart spend and dumb spend, where you think, okay, you're blowing too much money over here. I already think it's over equipment. And I said on passes. Do you make too many passes? As a Zelinko Brothers farm, are there too many passes being made?
I really want to hear it from the point, me and Johnny give the farmer point, and she has the farmer points, but I want to hear it from the perspective of the sales side. What do you see that is hardest for us as farmers to overcome? When you're talking about sales,
From fertility and
Yeah.
from that aspect, it's getting away from the mindset of what you've always done is the right thing, that you have to keep
You see
doing
that
that.
farmers tend to be fixed in their ways?
A little bit, sometimes.
Oh, I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
We put out 155 gallon or pounds of nitrogen every year. That works. Some years we get 140 bushel corn. Some years we get 230 bushel corn. So why should we change that nitrogen rate? But in reality, there's other things you can do. It can come down to equipment. It can come down to timing, split applications, changing that rate. So I think, the biggest hurdle from fertility for a guy is always just doing what worked, because they've seen a wide range of yields. It works. Why should I change?
How can I ask her?
I think you should. You're doing a better
I
job.
think I was going to ask her another
I
question.
think you're probably a better interviewer than I am.
So tell me this. How hard, because me and Johnny look at it from, a different set of glasses. I feel like, we think the same way and kind of look at it from different set of glasses. How hard is it, or what you talk about macros,
Yep.
When has farmers just changed over to, looking at boron, looking at macros, looking, you know what I'm saying? Like, when have they kind of made that jump and it ain't been just about MP and K?
I think it's that education part you talked about earlier. Is there's more videos like these that are out there. There's more things on social media. People are talking about it. I always say that I go to meetings and it always surprises me how many people are taking pictures of slides because they want to learn what a soil test, what a soil test means. So that means they want to know, and that's kind of that trigger point that says, okay, maybe there is a better option. Maybe I need to look at micros. Maybe I need to, change my mix up. But it takes that initial step of them wanting to change before they get there.
All right.
Never mind. I'm just kidding. I was just kidding.
You don't have
It's a Chad and Stephanie show.
It's there's a whole bunch of money that does go out the door and to do this. So I think that you could probably go through every line item and probably figure out a way to needle on it and pull some off. Like I said, I see unnecessary expense.
I promise you, Caleb, good. I hate
Every line.
every
line.
Oh, you're
But paying for interest is a smart spend or dumb spend to be paying for operating money. 8% right now?
Yeah.
8%?
Yeah. I mean, it seems like nowadays to make money, it takes money, and the way things cost, you're going to almost have to have an operating line to make it work. And you can't start a crop and not finish it either. So you're going to have, for us, we have to have operating lines to finish the crop, and it's no way around it really. And I mean, when interest was 3%, 4%, it's almost like farmers didn't have to worry about that interest. Now the interest is actually pretty much a line item at your expense at the end of the year. When
Galen did a recording with me a couple of years ago, we talked about the last dollar you should spend on a crop. How do you, and you talk about smart spend and dumb spend. Is there dumb spend going on because it ain't going to make any difference? Or is there dumb savings because you give up too soon? You and I have talked about that. Which one's the bigger problem? Dumb spend or dumb savings? You gave up on the crop too soon, or you spent money after it wasn't going to do any good?
I think it depends on the time of the year.
Or didn't spend money because it's emotional.
Yeah.
Well, remember, all decisions are made emotionally, then sometimes backed up with logic.
I promise you.
But I think when we have an economy like we have today, we're all worried about the ROI that we're going to be able to make. When you look at it on paper, it's very thin right now. And the best thing you can do is to build a budget and have a start plan. And if the weather stays right for us in dryland acres like we are, know what we can spend, when we can spend it. That's where you come into spoon feeding, banding fertilizer. Chad's doing strip till. He didn't do that 10 years ago. We're running basically banding fertilizer with our planters. We didn't do that. And the reason we're doing that, we're able to reduce our costs. We're also able to put those nutrients in the right area where that crop can get them. And hopefully at the end of the day, that's going to be a better ROI for us. But if you don't change on the fly, it's also not a good thing too. So, I mean, you got to be, you got to have a plan, but you got to be able to stick to it and stay in budget.
You put a date on it. August 1st, I make this. July 1st, I make this decision whether to spend or not spend.
For me and Chad, it's whenever the rain stops, whether that's May 1st or June 1st or July 1st. That's what really affects us. As long as we can get moisture, we can make crops. And I mean, everybody knows it takes water to make grain, but for us, we're like 7 days from the next drought for us. And I mean, we can have the prettiest crop ever, and in 7 days, it doesn't even look like a corn crop.
I mean, I seen where his tile lines run out here, and I seen the dirt they pulled up. I know we can make what he makes.
Yeah.
He likes to insult my farm ground. And I just point out here, I've got the best farm ground the grandson of a tenant farmer could come up with. All right. That's just the way it is. Okay. All right. Answer me this. Smart spend and dumb spend.
He's looking at you.
Well, I am, because I want you to put on your farmer hat, and then you're also your business person hat. Tell me where dumb spend happened. I know you don't like to take opinions, but I'm making you take a stand here. Where are farmers making stupid financial decisions?
I think waiting too late to make decisions.
Because of procrastination.
Yep. This year's a perfect example. How many people are waiting? Not you.
You look at me like you're talking to me.
I'll look at Johnny then.
Johnny knows what I'm talking about, because it's like, ooh.
We did an episode where Matt Miles was sitting here, and Chad and Temple were over there, and he kept saying, so success, he kept pointing my way, he says, and failure. He did it 4 times, and finally chances, how come every time he says fail, he points over here at you and me, and the success, he points over at Damian? You just kind of did that.
Well, I guess that just happened to be the way I was looking. Sorry.
I'm always sitting your left from now on.
Just opposite direction of Damian.
Yeah, that's right.
Waiting too late to make a decision. Where's the stuff? Where's bad financial decision happen from the farmer standpoint? Yours or anybody else's?
I would think overspending on the front end and then not finishing the crop. So that's 2 ways.
Where's the dumb spend happen? You or anybody else?
I'm going to go with both of theirs.
Well,
both
can't. You've got to give
No, I get it. Like, mine is, I love to say what Mike Tyson said. Mike Tyson said,
everybody's got a plan
till they get punched in the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just it. Farmers will go to these meetings, and we've seen them. And farmers, I'm saying Johnny, we go to these meetings in January and February. We have a plan. We're going to do this. We're going to do it right, boys. It's going to happen. One rain, we're okay. Second rain in, all that went out the window and planted dang crops.
Stephanie, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think it's wise to go around living by a quote that came out of a guy who was a high school dropout with a face tattoo? I'm concerned about Mike Tyson.
Like, I'm waiting on that.
Are you making better financial decisions because you don't hang on to a wheel much? You're more in the office. No,
I thought he was going to say because you listen to Mike Tyson.
You're more in the office now. You've got employees. Your farming operation is of the scale where you are really more of a business manager. Well, all farmers are, but you're less hanging on to a wheel, and you're in there looking at desk work. Do you think do you make better financial decisions because of that?
Don't you run one of the planters?
Yeah, I usually run a planter, but let Damian go with the story.
Well, you don't. You're not in the tractor cab as much as you were 10 years ago. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah. So we really track our spendings on a large scale in our operation. I'm talking about we try to track everything we can. We work with a company that really helps us with that. And I think a lot of farmers, and myself was included just a few years ago, really didn't have a clue what I had in the crop by the end. I knew what I had for corn seed, fertilize, stuff like that, maybe some CP and stuff like that along the way, but I didn't know what everything else was costing me, insurance, labor, and all that stuff. I had a ballpark number. Now we know exactly what it is, and you can't make decisions on your farm without knowing what your real cost is. And so I believe farmers need to spend more time in the office. They need to be able to have those talks with their accountants any time throughout the year, not in February when they're trying to pay their taxes.
I find it interesting that he was so insulted. I didn't say he doesn't know how to drive a tractor. I just said that you don't hang on to a wheel as much as you probably did because you're more in the office now. Is that so offensive, Stephanie?
Well, farmers like to farm, so maybe a little offensive.
Do you know that I offend people sometimes not trying?
She's trying to be nice.
She's so polite. Like, we've been throwing arrows at her, trying to get her to dive in, and you're like, I just need you to put your hat on, just say what's the right. Yeah. Oh well, it's life.
Somebody has to be the nice one.
Well, you're probably the best candidate for that. All right, going around the table then. When you think about financials and all that, it's not your favorite thing. You'd rather be out digging in the dirt, and you'd rather be out doing that thing. But what are your thoughts? Obviously, we're 2025 right now. We're recording this in spring of 2025. Things do not look very rosy out here in the farm economy. I think it's the time you better really start thinking about smart spend versus dumb spend, because it can be the difference between break even and losing money.
I think have a budget and stick to it. Create a budget. Know how much you're going to spend. I mean, I never thought about it until the last 2 years when Galen and Stephanie talk about, the fertility is going to be 17 to 22%. I'm like, that ain't right. I get to figuring, I'm like, it's right. Like it's dead on, according to the year. And they know what they're going to
17
spend.
to the person listening, 17 to 22% of total spending.
Yes,
Yeah.
of total spending will be fertility.
Anticipated income.
Anticipated income.
Yep.
So
Anticipated income
you should
will be
spend
fertility.
17 to 22% of anticipated
No,
income.
not should. Like that's the number that people will spend.
Oh, that is what they do.
Yeah. I mean,
Most are not Chad.
Not-
He's
not
more
me.
like 30.
He's a sinner. He's the hashtag sinner.
I feel, I measure a 5-gallon bucket.
He never met a nutrient he didn't want to throw more of in the field, right?
Yep. I'm trying to do better at that. My name's Chad. I'm trying to spend less. I'm trying to do better. So
Smart spend, dumb spend. What's your advice?
So I think along the same lines of setting a budget, still setting that plan. Like we always said, it gets emotional. We've talked about that. If you know you're going to do a side dress, you're going to do a foliar, those are kind of set, and it takes a little bit of that emotion out of it. If you get a good rain, then great. If you think you're going to get a better crop, then you can add more. But if you have that plan from the start, I think that can kind of help you stick with that budget.
You guys have gone inputs and inputs. Take me to non-inputs: machinery, employees, real estate, capital improvements. What's the smart spend, dumb spend? What's your advice?
I mean, I still think the smart spends, land for sure. But, equipment's a big piece of it. You need to have really good planters and the sprayer like we talked about before, because that will make or break the operation, because we got such short windows to plant nowadays. Chad started planting yesterday. We get up here and it was snowing this morning, so it's kind of hard to believe we were planting back home. But at the end of the day, we were talking, he was on the phone on the way up here, and I heard him tell somebody he could have 700 acres planted by Saturday, and today's Thursday. So you look at how much he can get done. But it's because he's got
He
good.
said he heard you on the phone. What you calling him?
I text him.
You texted him. That's right.
But that
he couldn't
just-
text back. He was driving.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
With
hands-free
his
driving.
knee.
Yeah.
Smart spend, dumb spend. We are obviously in a downturning ag economy. We hope it doesn't stay that way. But we also know how this business works, because those of us that have been in it. Regardless of where you are in your journey in this business, we want to make sure you always pull up a chair here figuratively and pour yourself a drink and sit down and talk to us. We're joined by Stephanie Zelinko, agronomist with our friends at AgroLiquid. We love AgroLiquid. If you want to learn more about their products that can help you maybe do the spoon feeding approach to meet your budgetary constraints that you're going to have, because what we hear here, set a budget and also set a plan. I'd quote you, but I don't remember what you said exactly, Johnny.
I think he
know
said,
the place.
don't buy new equipment, pull wrenches.
That's what he definitely said.
that's what I
That gets
said.
to me, because I don't ever want to be a mechanic. Anyway, Johnny Verell, Chad Henderson, her name's Stephanie Zelinko. If you want to learn more about AgroLiquid, go to
agroliquid.com.
agroliquid.com. Till next time, thanks for joining us here at the Granary. Cheers.